Well, hope you'll have early a minute. Wherever you like. You're fine. You want an agenda?
Thank you.
You will. I did. Oops. Oh, you did.
That's what they were saying.
Unfortunately.
Ready? My teacher made me just.
Meeting order. Okay, please.
Certainly. If you'll join me. Father God, we just come to you today and we thank you and praise you for just how good you are and for the rain that you've sent. And Lord, we're just thankful for the rain that's going to continue to come to our land. And Lord, thank you for your favor. We just thank you that you are God, that you are sovereign, that you love us unconditionally, and that you are there to be with us every step of the way. I just ask that you're with everyone in this room and that you help everyone to travel safely back to their destination. Lord, just be with all the great men and women that are protecting this country. And Father, just thank you most for your son and for the forgiveness that he represents. And it's in his precious name we pray. Amen.
Allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, liberty and justice for all. I
State.
for friendships among united cultures. Morning, Dennis.
Good morning. I thought you were gonna wait on me.
Item one, approval of agenda.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item two, approval of minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
5 yes votes. Public request. Anyone like to address the commission today?
I will. Yes, sir. My turn.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm here today. I want to talk about the Enabling Act and the codification of the New Mexico Enabling Act. I've presented this to a couple county commissions and a few city councils around the state. And I'm going to start with the basics. And then if you have any quick questions, you can hit me. Now, we did have a question on Sandoval County last week. There was some confusion on Sandoval County and how that was being presented there. We have presented it to several other commissioners. I don't know if the Sandoval County attorney has it yet, but we've got attorneys in most counties that are already looking at this. As a matter of fact, Valencia County, their attorney is the one that proposed it. Anyway, the codification of the New Mexico Enabling Act as a county ordinance will put an end to the enforcement of the governor's unconstitutional mandates and orders. New Mexico was admitted as a state under the conditions set forth in the New Mexico Enabling Act. The New Mexico Constitution is essentially a provision of the New Mexico Enabling Act. Everything incorporated within the body of the Enabling Act fits within the four corners of the Constitution of the United States. The New Mexico Enabling Act adopted as a county ordinance would ultimately set the United States Constitution as a standard for review for any mandate order issued by the governor or any other state agency. We're currently at a disadvantage by being in a reactionary position to the governor's illegal mandates and orders. The New Mexico courts by established law are required to presume or assume that any order or mandate issued by the governor is within the law. The standard of review used by the courts when constitutional compliance of laws, ordinance, mandates, or orders are challenged is within 3 levels of scrutiny. Those levels are rational, intermediate, and strict. Anyone who has ever challenged the constitutionality of any of the governor's orders or mandates finds it very difficult, if not impossible, to get the New Mexico courts to apply a heightened level of scrutiny. You get into a lot of legal stuff there, but that's the basics. Codifying the Enabling Act as an ordinance will require the governor to initiate legal action to enforce mandates or orders that the county has determined are not in compliance with the county ordinance. Again, the county ordinance will mirror the Enabling Act, which actually mirrors the federal constitution. If in the future, if the governor wants to challenge the ordinance preemptively, she will have to show the court that this ordinance is not legal on its face. There's 2 ways to challenge the constitutionality of an action by an elected official or constitutionality of an ordinance. It's either on its face, which means it's illegal just the way it's written, it's bad, it's ugly, it's illegal, or as applied. It's almost impossible to challenge the constitutionality of something on its face. It's really tough because you have a hard time getting standing. Now, as applied, if she comes down and says, we're going to enforce this, and we say, and Roosevelt County says, no, we're not, then as applied, she would be able to try to challenge the actions of this ordinance. Anyway, the courts, by established law, then the shoe's going to be on the other foot. Just as when we challenge the governor, when she brings something down, when we challenge her in court, the courts are by law, they have to assume liberal construction. You get into a whole lot of stuff. That's part of the separation of powers. It's actually a good thing. We're just now going to be able to take advantage of it. When the governor sends something down here, the courts have to presume or assume that she's acting within the law because she was an elected official, blah, 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 blah. The same thing is going to happen. If she comes down and challenges the ordinance, then the governor has to assume or presume that you guys acted within the law. And then she's going to have to get over the hurdles. Anyway, the best thing we could do would be codify the New Mexico Enabling Act as an ordinance as soon as possible. Now, there's several defenses that we would put up. Let's say that the governor has another, where she's got a public health emergency right now. We're under her authority of a public health emergency right now. She just hasn't issued any other orders related to the Second Amendment. But let's say that she decides to do that. Well, simply Roosevelt County says, well, sure, this is contrary to our ordinance. We're not going to enforce it. You're going to have to sue us to enforce it. Then your lawyer is going to have to come up with his defenses. Well, his defenses are going to be based on federal constitution, but one of the provisions of the federal constitution is the state of New Mexico is guaranteed by the federal government to live, the citizens of the state of New Mexico are guaranteed to live under what's called a Republican form of government. This is not a democracy, it's a republic. The Enabling Act is actually part of the republic. That's the glue that holds the republic together. The Enabling Act, technically, what most of us would say, this is basic contract law. We have a contract with the other 49 states, our state to behave in a certain manner, to treat our people in a certain manner. The United States, when we became a state, they contracted with us. One of those promises was we would make sure you guys will always live under a Republican form of government. Well, the problem with the Republican form of government, when you start challenging that, the Supreme Court of the United States has always said that is a political matter, a political matter, and it's not judiciable. So if she comes in here, your lawyer says, well, we are guaranteed to live under a Republican form of government. She's going to try to challenge that defense. His defense is going to be, well, the Supreme Court, by established law, multiple case law, this is not a judiciable matter, Judge. You don't have jurisdiction to decide this matter. Then she's stuck, just like she's been sticking us with lack of standing. The court said, well, we don't have jurisdiction because you don't have standing. The shoe will be on the other foot. She's not going to be able to challenge us because of the defenses that our lawyer is able to put up based on the federal constitution and how we're supposed to behave and react with our other states. SB 13, which is one of the laws we have put up for referendum, almost that entire law is a violation of the Enabling Act. There's a lot of things that we can do with the Enabling Act that we haven't been able to do yet. Any questions? Mr. Lopez?
No, I have no questions. Thank you. But I was wondering, everyone else gets 3 minutes. It's been about a little over 8.
I was on the agenda, so they told me I had more time.
Well, it's public request, so it's 3 minutes max.
There's an hour later. I don't have any questions.
It's all gonna fall on you if we pass this. It would be tough for her to get over this. I don't see any way that she could ever get around this. We're gonna have several counties that pass this. Next time she comes up with one of her public health mandates, orders, whatever, it will be very difficult, if not impossible, to enforce it statewide. Obviously, she wouldn't be able to enforce it in Roosevelt County, but this would definitely stop this stuff. I wished I would have come up with this 3 years ago, but I have no excuse for that. I just simply missed it. Sorry.
Thank you, Larry.
Angie, are you wanting to speak?
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. I just last week had gotten up and asked you to please consider passing the Enabling Act, and for a few reasons. The main reason I was on the agenda was in the event Mr. Marker could not be here this morning because he had planned a really important hearing in Roswell at 2 o'clock. In the event he wouldn't be here, I was going to be the pinch hitter. But I just want to say how disappointed I am to see a commissioner do his best to shut somebody up without making sure that he didn't already have permission to speak for as long as he had wanted to. I understand that it was under the 3-minute public consent. I had already visited with our county manager. She explained everything, how everything rolls, and I'm completely aware of that now. And so I thank her for taking the time to explain that process to me. But it's very disheartening as someone of the people that this is very important to, when I feel like our elected officials don't want to listen to it. And I admit, I'm sure he was trying to be fair to anybody else that had the 3 minutes, but I would have appreciated if we would have found out differently, because he is listed on the agenda. And since he was specifically listed on the agenda, maybe the rules are a little bit different in this case. So thank you.
Thank you. But Alan, you will be limited to 3 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm going to take a little bit different approach on this. There's things in our community that we really need to unite on. Mr. Lopez and I, we've had our battles through the years, but we've also been able to move forward and respect one another. I want to try to put this in English. If we had this happen 3 years ago, number one is this takes pressure off our sheriff. If you will recall, whenever the state police came in, wanted to lock some of our businesses down, and of course, hindsight's 2020. You know what happened whenever all our, our businesses got locked down. Portales is struggling. Our county's struggling. We lost a lot of revenue there. We had infighting with school boards. Superintendents got into crosshairs. Teachers got into crosshairs. This allows our sheriff, this allows our school boards, this allows our superintendents to say, hey, it gives them an out. We've got a law. We have an ordinance now that we're definitely not trying to tell parents if they want their children to wear a mask, they can wear a mask. But if it's not law, if it's just an executive order, then that goes back to we are protecting our citizens here in Roosevelt County. Now, I'm going to cut it short, believe it or not, but this is not just her. this is not just picking on Michelle. This is for the future. This is for if a Republican gets up there, if an independent gets up there, if somebody else gets up there and tries to dictate what we can or what we cannot do. It just protects the citizens of our county and hopefully our state. And I think we need to try to unite and pass these types of ordinances to not only protect our citizens, but it would unite our county and our state from the infighting. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Is there anybody else? Okay, we're moving on. Mandy Park.
Good morning, Commissioners, Chairman. I asked to just be on there in case there was anything because the agenda went out so early. So I really only have a little update. We are started test voting the tabulators last Thursday, 26th, whatever day that was, 26th we started, and we've done all but 2. We'll continue that today. Tomorrow, today we will do a mock election where we put those results from the test decks into the results portal and kind of test that part of the system as well. And then tomorrow we will do the mock canvas so that we're testing every piece of the election process before it's time to do that. And then we'll finish our certifications of those machines after we re-zero all those cards and reset everything to 0 in preparation for the election. Election day is the 7th of November. Early voting starts the 10th in our office and the 21st at the J. Clough building.
Okay, well, thank you, Mandy.
Thank you.
Jayla.
Let me move this down. Good morning. The facility right now, our count is at 75. We have 20 females and 55 males. We have 36 out of county. We just billed this morning for Quay at $86,025. That's what they'll owe us for housing. For our MAT program, we have 13. We have 13 in group. We have 13 in individual counseling. We have 14 waiting to be interviewed. We have 5 on medication. For some of our programs, GED, we have 9. Our parenting class, we have 5. Our yoga, we have 9. I wanted to share a little bit about our garden that we have going. We start a garden every year to kind of help out our kitchen with fresh veggies and things like that. So I wanted to let you guys know what we're growing. We've pulled about 8 full baskets to take to the kitchen within the last month and a half or so. We have pumpkin, cantaloupe, watermelon, cucumber, squash, zucchini, jalapeno, tomato, okra, and we also have corn. So those are just a few things we've been taking to the kitchen fresh, and they've been including them in their meals to add. So I stand for any questions.
Jayla, regarding the Quay County billing,
Yes, sir.
is it the same billing, the same dollar per day? That
It is not
that we set there at $154 a day?
No, sir. We have a previous contract and we're billing at that amount for now until we have to renew.
Thank you, Shayla.
Mr. Chairman, so she needs to present the restricted housing too, and we need that in the minutes.
Okay, so our restrictive housing, our quarterly report, we are at 0 for the Roosevelt County Detention Center. And this is a quarter between July and September. So July, August, September, this is our 3rd quarter of the year, and we're at 0 for all 3 months.
Everybody good at that?
Thank
So
you.
it's, they've been billed, but nothing yet
They've been invoiced this morning. Yes, sir.
for the whole quarter.
Were they
I'm
billed for the
I'm
whole
confused at
quarter?
what you're asking, sir.
Yep. Were they billed? Did they not pay up to arraignment at least?
Who are you
Or City
talking
of
about?
Portales? If you just.
We're not on that subject yet. We're
I
gonna
thought you-
talk about that a little bit later.
talked about
This
that.
is the restrictive housing report.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I was confused. I thought that.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
All
a
right,
little
I'm sorry.
bit. Johnny,
Gotta have a little bit more room. Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. Give you all a quick update on the FEMA work that's coming on, our physical map revision. As you know, the second appeal has ended in July. And now FEMA is working towards our letter of final determination. And so that's hopefully going to happen December 20th of 2023. A letter is going to be sent out to the highest chief executive officer in the community, and they'll send them a letter saying that your letter of final determination has been issued. And that's going to be sending out all the new floodplain maps. With that done, then we'll have 180 days to get our ordinance up to date. And whatever new communities have entered the National Floodplain Insurance Program, we'll have to get their ordinance up to date also. Once the 180 days has passed, then FEMA will send out the letter of final determinations with the maps and with the new digital copies, which will be on their webpage. Once that's done, then the firms will become effective June 20th, 2024. So I stand for any questions.
thank you, Johnny.
Thanks, Johnny.
Mr. Ruato.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. Been really busy the last 3 weeks with all that rain that we got. The crew has been south of Lida, had all that fixed until last night. There was another good rain come across there. What we call the Little Bermuda Triangle between Highway 70, 114, and the Dora Highway 206. That whole area has been bladed. They like a few more miles on you, and then everything will be touched there. They also got everything south of Dora from 114, 206, all the way up past your place, and all that area has been bladed. So they're really getting around. Also, Randy, one of the other crew guys, is down on 30, 31, 32. It's getting on further south in that long stretch over to 114, the Causey area. So they continue to blade, but last night we got hit again. So we'll start all over again. We also finished Road 6. I don't know if y'all got a chance to go out there and look at it, but it looks amazing. It's done. We finished State Line finally, snuck up on it and got it done. So State Line was done, and we chip sealed it, we micro sealed it, and it was done on Friday. So that got finished also. We were planning to be on Highlands today, chip sealing, but the big rain we had last night, it's too sticky. We're hoping we can get to it Thursday. I looked at it this morning and we can't do it tomorrow. I'm gonna go out and pump some water out and see if we can get to it Thursday and Friday. Chip seal it. And then industrial will also be this week. We're gonna do some cleaning up and start patching on industrial. And hopefully we can chip seal it next week also. Let's see, the backhoe. So it's supposed to have been here Friday last week. And I got with our salesman from Wagner, and there in Grand Junction, they had a bug go through the whole plant. Everybody got sick, so the mechanics were out. There was no mechanics to put our buckets on and our thumb on. We got a thumb with that backhoe. So there was no mechanics to work on it. They're putting it on today, yesterday and today, and hopefully it'll be here Thursday. And all that maintenance we've done, we've already hauled out in the last 2.5 weeks, 52 loads and spot loading just on 20, 26, 27 and P, A, M, A, L, throughout the whole county. So we've already hauled 52 loads and we continue to haul today to fix roads. That's all I got. Stand for any questions.
I have one.
Okay.
Or a comment, I guess. So I had one of my constituents come to me, stop me actually this morning. And his concern was the fact that we're blading, but we're not cleaning out the ditches. And that a lot of this is still staying in. It's still staying in the road because we're not getting the ditches cleaned out.
So a lot of the times when if there's too much material, we have to take a loader out, push the sand out. And then a lot of other times, if the ditch is clean, if we're not touching them, it's because they're too wet. We're having to blade from the top just to be able to blade the road. And on the next round that we come back and it's dry, we can get in the bar ditches and clean the bar ditches out.
Okay. And he also had made a suggestion about if we couldn't, he said he knows that a lot of it, and the comment was made about the farmers letting their stuff blow. And that if we could not see if there was a way, if there was anything that we could do to work with them to try to help clean out these ditches and stuff, whether it's, helping them load it. I know we had one a couple weeks ago that had a truck. He was just having difficulty getting somebody to help him load it into the trucks.
So when that individual called me, when I finally talked to him, we had 5 guys, I believe, at the shop because our shop actually got really sick also. We had to send everybody home and we were limited on resources at the time. And that's when we had that big rain also. And we were blading. I would think y'all would rather us do the blading instead of loading material for somebody at that time. I'm not saying that we couldn't, because I did explain to him that we would, if he could schedule it and get it on the books. And instead of calling us a couple of days beforehand, we could probably help him out with that, get some kind of agreement with any farmer that wants to do that.
Okay.
So.
Roy Lee.
I've just there's cattle guards down on 34 when the loader does come in. There's cattle guards down on 34. They told me yesterday that they were full. And
Billy Smith called me and said 32, 34. I think probably all 350 of them.
And I know on Y that where that road washed over there, just right north 25, they're on Y.
Miss Gushaway's place?
Yes.
Mhm.
That garden completely.
Yeah, we
Plumb full of
full.
material. So,
Yes.
but anyway, I know y'all figured. I figured y'all knew about it, but I wanted to bring them up.
Right. And Ms. Hamilton's got them all written down and we will jump on that next week. And shredding. So.
I've had some questions about shredding up here around like on 6 or not 6, like on 7 and 8. Just right up around here where the weeds are so tall around the stop signs at the intersections.
So our little trailer got beat up a couple of weeks back and we finally got a spring in. And what we wanted to do, admin also, is pick up all the trash before we get the shredder out there. Sometimes you just don't see that bag of trash in the weeds or what's ever in there. So we're going to put that pickup in the trailer in front of it and start picking up trash in front of the shredder so we can get it all picked up and not make a big mess.
For safety concerns, is there any way you might get the skid loader and the shredder attachment and go to the intersections and make them where they can see?
Yeah.
So I've had several questions about that.
Yeah, we got that mulcher, so we could definitely do that. Yes, sir.
Yeah, S and 7.
S&7. That one's always a boogaroo. Yes.
All right, thank you, Rick.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ricky. Mrs. Hamilton.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. So we will have auditors on site this week. They provided a meeting invite for an entrance meeting. They have scheduled tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. They do this when they arrive. And I will forward that out. We will have it available in person here at the commission meeting or on Zoom. It's a closed meeting and there are 2 commissioners. I believe it's Commissioner Savage and Commissioner Criswell. that were appointed to serve on that. So we'll have our entrance interview, and then they'll be here for 2 days, I believe. The plan is Wednesday and Thursday. And then they will continue on in their audit and determine if they need to be back for anything final before they wrap up everything in November. Most of the prep work at this point has been done online. So Ms. Rivera has been very busy, as has Ms. Sanchez, submitting all the required documents that they asked for. As far as behavioral health goes, we've completed several trainings. We have 2 more trainings scheduled for this month for our first responders, law enforcement, detention, probation, parole, fire, EMS, all of those have been included. This was something that our leadership council requested, and those members. And so we have a couple more trainings of those scheduled as we're expending our grant funds. We have several procurements in the planning process just to keep our FY24 budget moving forward. We've reached out to the architect and asked him for specifications on the door replacements here at the courthouse, and working with the Historical Society for those replacements. And so we're trying to start some of those larger procurements as well. Curry County will be hosting our regional Alzheimer's walk. As y'all recall, we hosted it last year. Curry County's doing it this year, and we're starting our planning meetings. And if there's anyone that would like to be included with that, I figured Commissioner Dixon would, I will send you that meeting invite. We're just starting to begin the initial talks on that. And I think they're looking at a date in November and having a walk up there. So that continues to move forward. And both Ms. Rivera and I completed the Department of Finance Administration training. There's going to be another crosswalk, a smaller version at this point for the new reporting system specific to debt management. So you'll see that they're requiring us to do some budget adjustment work to get everything where they want us to be reporting. And so we completed that last week. And then we've also, I've adjusted and updated the agenda request form, requesting it the Monday week prior to the meeting date to allow for a quicker release of our public agendas. So all of that has been noted, and I would stand for any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Hamilton. Commissioners, Mr. Lopez.
Yes, I would just like the record to reflect, Ms. County Clerk, that I meant no disrespect to this gentleman and to Ms. Smith. But here's the thing. For future reference, Ms. County Manager, I would like for things like this to be individual agenda items, because we know that under public requests, I had no idea that they were given the authority to talk over the 3 minutes. And I was trying to be cordial and professional, courteous, and everything else to stand by the rules. So just for the future, I want it as an individual agenda item, because I don't want this gent and this lady to have an negative impression on me, because that's not what I'm all about. Okay, so just FYI. So if you guys felt offended, my apologies. Okay. Secondly, I did get a letter from Sarah Austin forwarded to me on Lime Street. That's been something that's been very, very passionate to me for 6.5 years. Well, heck, since I was a commissioner in 2000, we're doing so many improvements to the fairgrounds. We're doing anything and everything that we can to enhance everything to promote individuals, Roosevelt County #1, but others to come and do things within our fairgrounds. And I have met with city folk for several occasions for the last few years. And I know that Sarah Austin, the city manager, specifically stated that we're not even on the radar for them to do their part. I know we've done our part over the years, and I know we've talked to some of the owners of the businesses in and around our fairgrounds. But I would like to see if there's any way, and I did speak to our county manager, if there's any way we can maybe do another in-kind service like we did on R6 and see if we could just enhance that road, because we're enhancing our fairgrounds, but whenever individuals come, drive by there right now, it's horrendous. It's third world country look. I mean, literally with flooding and just unsanitary, this and that. So if there's any way that we could allocate some monies or find some monies, I'm gonna research it and I'm gonna see what we have in our budget, but I would really love y'all's blessing for me to proceed with at least looking at some alternatives to see if we could do another in-kind to and continue to further enhance the fairgrounds. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And you know that that'll have, that at the earliest, it'd have to be another year or so because.
Yes, I'll be gone. I'll be gone, Commissioner Greider. I'm just saying.
Thank you.
So a couple of different things. I liked getting the agenda out like we did, little pieces at a time throughout. It was much easier to keep up with. So I appreciate that. I went to Dallas this past week to 30 by 30 Summit. And anyway, it was awesome, but I am going to get something together here in Roosevelt County, Chavez, Curry, Otero, and Lee County. We're all going to get together and we're going to get something together to get the word out around here about the 30 by 30. You know, I think all of this goes in with exactly what you were talking about earlier today. I think it's part of, if it's not the 30 by 30, it's the endangered species, it's our gun rights, it's the water. I think it's all combined. And I think it's all just part of government control. It's like they say, the 9 scariest words in the world. I'm from the government and I'm here to help. I mean, it worries me. And it does. It worries me a lot. This 30 by 30 is getting out of hand. And then with us here in New Mexico, that we have the 20 by 20 as well, where our governor wants to give an extra 20%. I mean, if you stop and look about what they've already got here, we really need to wake up and step up, because if you don't have your land, your water, your guns, you know, you don't have any protection, you have nothing. And it all goes into play together. So anyway, I won't talk too much on that, but I'm going to bring up the prairie chicken. So the governor did veto the bill that did pass the House and Senate to delist the lesser prairie chicken. He did veto that last week. So that's what? I mean, the president, I meant not the governor, I'm sorry, the president. That and the bat. I went to NACO or an NMC, New Mexico County's meeting the other day, and we have our legislative priorities that we've been working on. I'll share those with y'all. I've got a list and I'll get those to you guys on that as well. I think that's about all I had. If it's not, I can't remember what else it was. So that's all I got.
Rod. Mr. Savage.
I don't have anything at this time. I think that on that agenda, I think there may be time for public comment down there listed on the agenda on that ordinance. So I don't have any comments at this time, but later on down there, I might have some more for Mr. Mocker.
Okay, I'll call on you. Well, Lee.
I also attended that 30/30 meeting they had in Irving last weekend. I tell you, that Endangered Species Act, it is serious. And for Roosevelt County, especially the southern part and up here at Delphus area, it's serious. And it's all about what they call the takings if it becomes a critical habitat. And citizens of Roosevelt County and surrounding counties need to open up their eyes and come listen. We're going to try to have Margaret Dybo come in.
Margaret
Byfield come in. I'd like for Kelly Goss to come in. She's a rancher out there in Otero County. They've been having to fight butterflies for endangered butterflies. Well, I'll tell you what, butterflies, the last life stage of a worm. They have never listed the worm. That's how much common sense is put into this. It's because the worm's not seen, but the butterfly is. And it's all about what can be seen, and it's all about what they call the takings during the critical habitat. And the takings is they're going to take it. That's all there is to it. And with me being where I live, it's serious, and it's going to get serious. And I'm telling you, by 2050, they're wanting 50%. By 2100, the agenda is to have it all. And that's what it's coming down to. They showed us a little movie, what they call Will You Eat the Bugs? And it's all about over what's happening in Holland. And I know Holland is a socialist country, but it can happen here through the Endangered Species Act, through the takings when they take it, and we will become a socialist country. So I'm hoping when we get this little meeting set up, that we can get the word out for Roosevelt County and surrounding counties, for these citizens and these ranchers, and these farmers, and for the elderly that own the CRP ground and these ranches that are getting leased out. Those are the people, and it needs to get involved and needs to come up here and listen to this, because they're the ones that are so easily persuaded because of government check. And so we've got to get the word out about this. And I think our county it's in dire deal, because the more country, if it comes out to the critical takings, there goes the property taxes along with it. And the more they take out, the less we're going to be getting in revenue. So anyway, that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Moving on to item 5. 5A, discussion and direction commission in regard to City of Portales detention service invoicing. Ms. Ramsey.
Good morning again. Okay, so I don't know where you want to start.
Well, we can explain. In their packets, they included two. So the confusion has been of how y'all want the billing. So we need some commission action on the direction, and we included in your packet, we have the legal opinion by our county attorney. He's obviously here and can answer all of your questions, or at least. Yeah, you're great. So included in your packet is at the daily rate of the actual daily costs figured for 2022, which is $154. And there are two sections. So for the packets that are included in here, you have August and July, and there's two different rates. So there's one at the prior meeting, there was some discussion of going back and honoring only through arraignment. And then there's also included in your packet the constant billing. So like for the month of July, and maybe that's something you can go over, Administrator Ramsey, is just covering the difference between the two bills, the arraignment versus the full for July and August.
Okay, so July, just until arraignment. So that's usually between 1 and 5 days, just depending on when the judges are ready to see them. So for July, we have $6,468, and that's just for the month. And that's for 207 days. And that's everybody's days added together. For the month of August, just until arraignment, we're at $6,776. So that gives us a total of, for those 2 months, at $13,244. Then I included the 30-day rate. And this is everybody put together. And so for July, it's going to be $32,494. For the month of August, it's $31,262. And that gives us a total of $63,756.
I've posed this question before, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, and I really need some clarification. Maybe legal counsel can answer some of this, but if there's a no bond hold on a PV, probation parole violation, and there's really no arraignment, how are we going to bill for that? Because those instances happen quite a bit.
So we do bill for probation, we do bill for parole, and those are separate. This is separate from Portales billing. when they come in and they have a criminal complaint and it's separate from their probation violation, it takes them a minute to, oh, they violated again. So then the violation comes in. So we don't really have to bill at the same time for that. We just have to go back into our billing.
Okay, because the no bond hold, obviously, if they're on parole, especially parole, and they're waiting to get sent back to corrections, Department of Corrections, why are we footing the bill and not the state?
We do bill the state. We're just,
Okay.
we have to bill them. So it's separate from this.
Okay, so you
Portales billing.
clarified. Thank you.
Yes.
There's not any point where we're double billing. We're not billing Portales and the state on anything,
No, ma'am.
even the 30-day thing.
Correct.
Roy Lee, do you have anything to?
I have an opinion, if y'all want it.
I don't.
Myself personally, I'd like to build 154 continually from day one to exit.
That's my opinion.
My
Yeah.
opinion.
And
Y'all know where I stand.
And
And-
that's my opinion, and I'll throw in another opinion. Litigation's fixing to take over. That's my opinion.
at this, do you have anything?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Criswell, it's going to be up to the board if you want me to do that. I mean, I'm not going to do it on my own,
I understand.
but I mean, I'm not going to just go out there on my own and do it under your authority.
Okay, my question is, do we need to formally make a motion, in which I do right now, to charge the 154 continually?
And I'll second that.
And Mr. Chairman, can I make one more comment? I would like to thank Shayla and all her staff. You know, sometimes we take it for granted what they do on a day-to-day basis, taking care of the inmates, the whole facility. Shayla, I want to thank you so much as a jail administrator for what you've done and what you are doing. And I just want to recognize you and your staff, okay? Thank you.
Okay, a motion has been made and seconded to charge the city $154 a day continually from day one till exit. Dennis?
Yes.
Yes. That's exactly what I meant.
Yes. Yes.
Yes,
Yes,
Yes.
Rod Savage,
Yes.
we have 5 yes votes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shayla. Okay, item 5B, discussion and update, continued public service negotiations, City of Portales, Commissioners. Either one, go ahead.
I guess I just gave my opinion a while ago. We're kind of at a standstill at this.
Hey, well, this,
And like, and my opinion is that we're just gonna be at a standstill in order to get something done. I think we're going to turn this over to the attorney and let the answer come out the courts on who, on who's gonna foot this bill, because we can't just keep on not, taking in these inmates and not getting paid.
well,
It's not sustainable.
I think what we just did is
Well-
going to be step one.
It's step one, but as far as we got to get paid for all of it, we can't just get paid for part of it and we foot the bill for the rest of it. It's not feasible. And so in order to keep our detention center open and make it work and keep our staff, we're going to have to get some compensation. And it's a problem across the whole state. It's not just Roosevelt County. It's a problem across the whole state. And I hope other counties will join in and fight these municipalities for this, you know, because it is a problem across the whole state.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Please.
Before we do that, could I request that we put it on a closed litigation or an executive session meeting to discuss it? So we give you all just the whole picture on it in an executive session, as opposed to deciding here and now, if that's even up to you.
Good deal.
And Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Mr. Councilman, that was going to be my recommendation. I think you read my mind. Because I've got a lot of questions, Mr. Chairman, about even conflict of interest. Because obviously, I have a lot of individuals on the city council that are very close to me, more than one, starting with my father. And I have a lot of things that I need to discuss with you guys as well.
And
About that, the city's been talking about this through the closed doors and leaving the residents of the city in the dark about this. And I'm glad that we're not talking about it behind closed doors. We've been talking about it in open session, to where our residents and the city's residents that do listen to the meetings are being informed of what's been going on.
And I love transparency, Commissioner Criswell, but sometimes due to things that might be libelous or anything else where there could be a true conflict of interest or any other conflict, I think that that's the purpose of executive session as well, so that we can discuss things that aren't going to make the county libelous and us end up in a multi-million-dollar lawsuit.
And I agree.
I love transparency. Don't get me wrong.
I agree with you. And I figured like I say, I just want to get my opinion out there to the public and go from there.
And I'd like to say that on that, I understand, but it's not all about the detention. I mean, I think this is our step to eliminate that one and deal with that one. But everything else, we've already, when the first thing that got thrown out was dispatch, we came to an agreement on dispatch, and we've been paying our bill for dispatch to them immediately. We took on it and we did it. So that one has been resolved. All of these others and who's statutorily required and all these different things, they have a completely different legal opinion than what we have. So that's been turned over there. As far as fire and EMS, I don't even know why we changed fire and EMS the way we've been doing it. I say we just do what we've been doing all along. That's what we've done to all of the other little fire departments. We've stuck with what we've done with them and left it at that. They're going to respond where they want to respond, and they're not going to respond where they don't. That is their duty, what they do as fire and EMS. I'm sorry, but you're either going to go or you're not. And we have a lot of volunteer fire departments, and we have the Portales Fire Department that's paid. And I mean, they're there on the clock, getting paid on their shift anyway. But I realize they have other things that they want to be doing or that they could be doing. I realize there's a lot to it, and I understand that it's expensive, but that's not our fault. And I think that we should just come to some kind of number figure like we did before. And I'm happy with the $30,500 that we've paid them for years. We've been paying them $30,500. And so it's not like we haven't ever paid them anything at all. And as I went around to other counties and seen what they've done, you know what? We're more than comparable with what the other counties have done, because they just give this on the side. I have not found one that pays out to a city in a bill like that, where it's itemized, because they get paid for each one of those runs from insurance or from state fire if it's a grass fire. But insurance or whatever is going to pay those things on the car accidents or whatever, or someone's health insurance or whatever. But that's between them and the person. That's not a county. That's not a county debt. I mean, we need to help our volunteer fire departments, our paid fire department. And I don't mean it to sound like I don't think that it's our problem because it is, because all of our residents are our concern. But we've got to be good stewards of our constituents' money. And I feel like what we've been doing for the past, how many ever years we've been paying the 30,500. And again, like I said, I've checked around and it's comparable with other areas in the state. I think we ought to just stick with that. Then there's not really anything left to negotiate other than the detention. And that's going to have to come out, however that comes out, with two very strong legal opinions on both sides. And that's my opinion.
Okay, well, thank you. Rod, is there anything you'd like to add?
No, I think we have some real useful dialogue here, but I'm confused what item we're talking about. Are we on 5A or 5B?
B,
Did we pass A?
yes.
We did pass A. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to 6A. Consideration of resolution 2023-40, committing a portion of capital outlay funds for the purpose of establishing regional behavioral health in eastern New Mexico with the purchase of land. Mrs. Hamilton.
Yes, Mr. Chair, Commissioner. So included in your packet was the resolution. We, as a collaborative group, had it identified on our ICIP. We went after some type of joint funding. The legislature awarded 10 million toward the establishment of this. It was awarded through the city of Clovis. This resolution is just stating our continued support of utilizing part of that initial 10 million in capital outlay funding toward the procurement of land. Both myself, Commissioner Dixon, attended the meeting earlier this summer where we looked at an existing facility and what that could look like in terms of renovation or new land, and the direction at that point of the collective group of elected officials that was there from all the different entities was to pursue land. So this is just moving that forward. The specific location is not yet included at this point. This is just the city of Clovis has asked for these resolutions. This has been adopted by Curry County, I believe, last week, and we were told the other municipalities and counties would have it on their agenda. I would stand for any questions.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I would like to move to approve resolution 2023-40, committing portion of the capital outlay funds for the purpose of establishing a regional behavioral health in eastern New Mexico with the purchase of land.
I'll second.
Motion made and second to approve 6A. Roy Lee,
Yes.
Yes.
Rod
Yes.
Sapp,
Yes.
5 yes votes.
Thank you.
Moving on to 6B, consideration resolution 2023-41 and observance of Operation Greenlight in Roswell County. Commissioner Dixon,
Well, my computer went off. Do you have a hard copy of that?
you're
Oh,
supposed
he's
to
got it
have
here.
it memorized.
Yes. We do this every year, or we have, in the past several years. So, do I need to read the whole thing? Okay, I don't. Okay, so anyway, I would just like to pass this resolution in observance of our men and women of the military. So, honor of our veterans, for everybody to just put a green light in your window. We do it at the courthouse, and you've already gotten them, haven't you, Amber?
Commissioner Dixon. So the maintenance handles all of that.
Okay. So it's November 10th. What day, do you remember what day it runs through?
We actually put it up for a range. So we do it for once this goes into effect through, so it'll go pretty much the rest of the month of October through Veterans Day.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So anyway,
So you have made that motion.
I have made.
So
that
where can we buy a green light? That's my question. Thank you.
I'll second the motion.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve resolution 2023-41. Rod Savage,
Yes.
Roy Lee.
Yes.
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 5 yes vote. Motion passes. Now it is time, is there anybody else that wants to make a comment on ordinance 2023-4? Mr.
Mr.
Savage,
Chairman,
you stated
Mr. Chairman.
earlier.
Mr. Chairman, I realize that Mr. Mocker did speak and to go beyond his 3 minutes, but in my opinion, it was listed on the agenda there, right under 6B, the public comment regarding the ordinance, and it was listed in the packet, a copy of their application to speak from Mrs. Smith and Mr. Mocker. A copy of that was presented in the packet, and I was of the understanding that at this time on the agenda is when they would be allowed to speak. And I feel like Mr. Mocker may have been cut short, a little short. If he had anything extra to say, and he's on the agenda at this time, if he wants to speak it now, I would be interested in hearing any additional comments.
And Mr. Chairman, I agree wholeheartedly on that.
Do you have anything, Larry?
I could always talk.
I know. I recognize that.
Really, I'll just be real quick. This is going to address more than the Second Amendment stuff. This will address that 30 by 30 that you're concerned with. That's really going to this is going to be critical moving forward into that, the Endangered Species Act. I've been challenged by that in the oil and gas industry for years. All of this does tie together, but this goes way beyond just the governor and her public health emergencies. This will actually give us grounds to really stand up and fight. This puts a fence in front of us, and it takes a lot of pressure. It takes a lot of pressure off our law enforcement. It takes a lot of pressure off you guys too. And it's simple as that. Yeah, your lawyer's going to have to do a lot of studying and stuff, but he's okay because he charges by the hour. Anyway, that's all I've got to say. This is just more than just the Second Amendment stuff. You know, in northern and central New Mexico, that's really what they were hitting on this. Like I said earlier, I wished I would have found this or would have connected the dots 3 years ago. I simply didn't do it. And I do apologize for that. But this moving forward, this is very critical, and especially for a county like Portales that has a history of standing up. This is going to be substantial.
Thank you, Larry.
I have a question, and it may be a dumb question, but isn't the Enabling Act already an act? So, I mean, I don't understand.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Dixon, I'm going to try to funnel this down into something that makes sense, that's clear and understandable, because a lot of what Mr. Marker is talking about with enabling acts, I've seen a bunch of these going around to different counties, and I think maybe the simplest way to state it is that we have constitutional provisions in the state constitution and in the U.S. Constitution that actually address the matters that we're talking about, whether it's the Second Amendment or the Fourth Amendment or the First Amendment, whichever constitutional right we're talking about. So as I understand the enabling acts, they were, like Mr. Marker said, they're sort of like a contractual representation of the United States accepting New Mexico into statehood and New Mexico becoming a part of the United States. But I do not see them as having actual enforcement of their own when it comes to constitutional rights, because the constitutions are the constitutions. And we have the Bill of Rights in the U.S. Constitution, Bill of Rights, inherent rights in the New Mexico Constitution. And so if any of these rights get challenged, they're going to be challenged on their own terms, in the terms of the amendments and terms of the constitutional right in the court. And so I don't see the enabling acts as actually playing a huge part of the actual enforcement of constitutional rights, the actual protection of constitutional rights. I mean, the enabling acts are important because they're in the background, but the actual constitutional rights are already stated in the constitutions. And so that being said, I think that whatever you do, you have to consider that there's a bunch of ways, there's a lot of ways that constitutional rights can be affected, whether it's by our sheriffs, by our deputies, it's by, and there are other constitutional rights besides just obviously the Second Amendment or the First Amendment. There's searches and seizures, arrests, things like that. Rights against self-incrimination, rights to counsel, all of those things. So all of that is to say that what I tried to draft for Roosevelt County is something that acknowledges the constitutional rights, and that anything that violates those is or should be unenforceable. And in a way, what I'm saying is sort of to use kind of I don't know, a vague word, maybe it's a truism. I mean, something that is contrary to the Constitution, it's contrary, whether Roosevelt enforces or not. And I guess the version that I've drafted, it gives Roosevelt the chance to say, we're not going to enforce an unconstitutional mandate. And you could do that by ordinance, you could do that by resolution, which I think is the path that more of the counties are going down. So I think you have an option either way.
Anyway, Mr. Chairman, I have something to add to that. I did take constitutional law when I was at New Mexico State University back in the day. And please correct me if I'm wrong, but our constitutional rights will supersede over any other thing that's done within states, municipalities, counties, whatever it may be. Am I right or wrong? And then also, states, municipalities, and counties can interpret certain laws that are passed within our Constitution, but the constitutional law still takes precedence when it's all said and done, right?
Well, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Lopez, so we could probably write a couple of volumes of constitutional law textbooks on that question, explaining both, how they all those things fit together. The short answer is, I think that probably the clearest way to say it is that states cannot violate federal constitutional rights. And there are also, this is a whole other doctrine, but so pardon me if I turn into a law professor for a second, but it's called incorporation. And basically what it says is that the original first 10 amendments of the Bill of Rights are incorporated through the 14th Amendment to apply against the states, which means that the states can't violate certain federal constitutional rights. I think that might have been what you were getting.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, can I respond to all that? Sure. Okay, the simple idea behind this, enacting this ordinance, is from the years of experience I've had challenging the actions of obviously the New Mexico Oil Conservation Division and the governor, is we're always retaliating. We're always having to challenge in court. With the way the laws, the way in the state of New Mexico, the way things have been manipulated, and it's possible all over the country. I have no idea. I just deal with the state of New Mexico. Okay, the way things have been manipulated with 12B6s, the flim-flams, the this, the that, the whatever. The key is to force her to retaliate on something that we have done. Then all the protections that we're talking about in the Constitution, we can now use them. What this will do is this allows us, I have to move around when I talk.
Right, that's fine.
Anyway, what this allows, you got to see me in court. It's weird unless I'm sitting down. But anyway, it gets, if she passes a law and I challenge, okay, you go through the 2 or 3 hearings and your 12B6, and you've got 5 or 6 different hearings, and then they get delayed, this, that, and had one today at 2 o'clock. Well, we're gonna postpone it. It's a constant nightmare to get through the court system in the state of New Mexico. So we're gonna force her to come at us. All this precedence that's been set by excuse me, but some of the the less principled attorneys in the state of New Mexico and some of our less principled judges. Okay, the fences that have been put up that prevent us from challenging the governor or acts of the state, we're now going to be forcing them to get over that fence because they're going to have to retaliate against the county of Roosevelt County for placing an ordinance. They won't be able, Roosevelt County will not be forced to enforce an ordinance that, I mean, a mandate that is opposed to their ordinance. I agree. Everything that she has done is contrary to the Constitution. It's a violation of our contractual agreement with the rest of it. But that didn't do us any good during COVID, did it? None of that was, we weren't able to stop any of that. And, you know, restaurants here, I cannot tell you how many thousands and thousands of hours I spent fighting those public health orders. And it was all for naught. It was, you know, the courts just kept kicking us out. Now we're going to make her go through that process, and we're going to stand here behind the fence saying, okay, you built this fence, now you claim. They can't do it. It'll be impossible. It'll be impossible to get over because they have built a pretty solid fence.
Mr. Chair, if I may?
Go ahead.
And just briefly, I think what, if I understand what Mr. Marker is trying to say is that and I don't think I necessarily agree with this respectfully.
Yeah. And that's fine.
But I think what the attempt is to create a presumption that any opponent, say in this situation, the governor, would have to get past. So it's like a presumption or a burden of proof or a burden of persuasion that would shift to the party that is in violation of the Constitution. So they'd have to prove what they were doing is correct. And I think that's more or less
they would have to show in court what they're doing is correct. They would have to clear the hurdles that we've been having to clear. I mentioned earlier the levels of scrutiny. What rights getting violated depends upon how the court looks at it. You get a heightened level of scrutiny if it's a specific inherent right. It gets very complicated, but what this does, it's just a simple barrier saying, okay, you're going to have to retaliate against something that we've done. I doubt that the governor is going to, when we pass this ordinance, I doubt she's going to come and challenge it on its face. She's not going to do that. Now, down the road, when she decides to have a public health emergency related to climate change, or we have endangered species dying or whatever, because that's all coming, that's all fitting, that's all going to be tied together. We're going to be in a position to force her, like I said, she's going to have to retaliate, and she's going to have to retaliate against that ordinance. Is it a for sure deal? No, there's nothing for sure in the law, especially in the state of New Mexico, but we'll get off into that later. But I guarantee you, this makes a huge difference. She's not just going to be able to run through here like she did last time.
And Mr. Chair, I just wanted to make the point that I'm not sure that this ordinance or any version of an enabling act would actually accomplish that, because usually the courts are going to look at the question as it's pled before them, and they're going to, whoever the moving party is, whether it's the governor or whether it's Roosevelt County, whoever the moving party is going to have the burden of proof. So it may or may not have that effect. And I don't want to, instill some false confidence that it would have that effect. The other aspect of it is, if there's a constitutional question about whether something is or is not constitutional, that in itself is going to be its own case, its own controversy, and what the courts will have to sort out. So, yeah, it's not simple.
Okay. Larry, thank you.
It's definite. It's going to put a bite on it, I promise.
Yeah, I got you.
But we don't want to do things with bad intent either, ill-mannered or anything like that. I mean, we're all human, but common sense should prevail, to be honest with you.
Is there anybody else that'd like to? If not, we'll press on. consideration of that's listed as 6A. But anyway, consideration of ordinance 2023-04. Do I hear a motion?
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I move for the adoption of ordinance 2023-04.
4-0.
I'll second that motion.
04, I mean. Okay, motion has been made and second to approve ordinance 2023-04. Mr. Savage.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. After
I'm calling-
hearing the-
I'm
Can you
calling
hear
for
me?
a vote. I can hear you, but I'm
No,
calling
well,
for a vote.
I'd like to, I thought that might be a debatable motion up for discussion. I'd just like to make a brief comment.
Go ahead.
We talked about this some last week. And I like what Mr. Garcia presented. I also like the ordinance that was presented through Mr. Mocker. I think, in my opinion, our ordinance, the first part of it accomplishes the same thing, except my opinion is that no one person has the right to nullify the Constitution of the United States. And I think we have a mechanism in place for those type of things to happen. But I think that that any person who attempts to nullify the Constitution, in my mind, should actually be a criminal offense. And the last part of Mr. Mocker's ordinance that he did talked about it to being a criminal offense if you violated our rights. And Mr. Garcia and I have talked some about that. And I wanted to say that, in my opinion, yes, if you attempt to violate our rights, it should be a criminal offense. But as a county, as explained to me, as a county, we don't have the laws in place to enforce such a fourth degree felony. And in addition to that, our law enforcement officers are already walking on eggshells after EGOS House Bill 4, afraid that they may be in violation of a civil rights. And I really don't want our law enforcement officers, if they go to arrest somebody or have to take away their weapon, to be having to be second guessing and having second thoughts about it. Public safety, where public safety is concerned about taking away a weapon. I think that if we did make it a criminal offense, then there could be some repercussions there for our law enforcement people. So I'm not in favor of adding that amendment to it. So my opinion is I would like to go ahead and pass this ordinance as it's presented right now. And that's all I have to say.
Okay. Can you hear me, Rod?
Yes.
I am calling for a vote on ordinance 2023-4.
Okay. I'm ready to vote.
Okay. What is your vote? Yes or no?
Yes.
Roy Lee?
Yes.
Tina?
Yes.
Yes.
No.
No. 4 yes votes, 1 no vote. Item 7A, request for approval of purchase of biosensors for APIC Solutions, Inc. from APIC Solutions, Inc.
Okay, we got to this medical wristband contract from APIC Solutions. We refer to it as Custody Protect. The goal is to have these wristbands on some of our intakes, probably all of our intakes, as they're coming in, so we can monitor them, know where they are, if they're going to a program, if they're with medical, anything like that. It just helps us keep better eyes on them. It also monitors their heart rate, things like that, for us to see if they're in need of anything as they're coming in. As you know, we do hold people usually in our holding area for about 12 hours to monitor them and make sure that they're okay to go to general population. And this would help better that process for us.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve agenda item 7A, approval of purchase of biosensors from Apex Solutions, New Mexico State Price Agreement 000002000093.
I second it. Motion made and second to approve item 7A. Dennis?
Yes.
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 And that was a yes from Mr. Savage, wasn't it?
Yes.
Okay, that's 5 yes votes. Item 7B, request for approval of award of TB 2024-02 for hauling and delivery of road materials for Roosevelt County.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning, Lily.
Hello. We released an invitation to bid through a competitive sealed bid process for the hauling of road materials. With that invitation to bid, we received 2 responsive bids. After evaluating and reviewing, the Frank Levacy Trucking LLC is the lowest bid to our county. Included in your packet is the contract for hauling for road materials with Frank Levacy Trucking LLC. I'd like to request the approval of ITB 2024-02 to Frank Levacy Trucking, and I'll stand for any questions.
Real quick, Mr. Chairman, they've been with us for a while, right? And they're very reputable and they've done well with
So
us.
we've had them in the past.
Yes.
Currently, we have had C&K Cattle to do our hauling.
Okay, with that,
Prior to that, we had Frank Levacy.
yeah, okay. With that, I would like to make that motion to approve agenda item 7B.
I'll second that.
Motion made and second to approve 7B. Roy Lee,
Yes.
Tina?
Yes.
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 5 yes votes. Item 7C, request for approval of award of ITV 2024-3 for emulsion materials. Lily.
Okay, so again, we released an invitation to bid for emulsions for the road department. With this invitation to bid, we received 4 responsive bids, and after evaluation and review of each bid, HF Sinclair and Marketing LLC and Desert West Enterprises LLC priced the lowest bid in this competitive sealed bid process. This procurement that we released allowed for our county to select multiple vendors to achieve the lowest cost to our county. With that, I'd like to request your approval for the contracts to provide emulsions materials to Desert West Enterprises LLC and HF Sinclair Marketing LLC.
I move we approve 7C.
I'll second.
Motion made and second to approve 7C. Rod?
Yes.
Roy
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
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 5 yes votes. Item 7D, request for approval of grant agreement 23-ZH5048-71 for New Mexico Department of Finance Administration in Roosevelt County for law enforcement school resource office position. Sheriff Sanchez.
Morning, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Commissioners. Okay, so in your packets, you received the grant funding application that we had put in. So that totaled for $131,250, and that is to create an additional position within our office. The first year it would fund 100% of a position, and then it would go down from there to 50% the second year and 25% the third year. So and on the agenda, it says for school resource deputy position. So I just want to clarify and just make sure we're all on the same page. So the funding is just to create an additional position within our office, and that would be able to facilitate using that extra position within our office to create a school resource deputy position. So not necessarily that we are going to use the person that we hired for that position, but just open up an additional position. So let me back up to probably April or May of this last year. The schools came to us asking if we could create a school resource deputy position. And at the time I told them no, because we didn't have the manpower. With the funding that the commission had given us to do community events, we were attending a lot more of the functions, games, doing class for the kids, things like that. So with that, they, kept asking the deputies, can y'all actually create a deputy position that's in the Portales schools? And at the time, we just couldn't do it. So fast forward to about July of this year, this funding opportunity came available. So I went and met with Mr. King again, talked to him and said, hey, are y'all still wanting us to do a school deputy position? And he said, yes, we are. And I told him, if we get this funding, this would allow us to do that because it would let us create an extra position. The school is willing to pay half of the deputy's salary. So that would be paid by the Portales schools up to, I think it was like $50,000, right? Yeah, I think it's up to 50,000. So I'm hoping I'm as clear as I can be, but I see some, it looks like there's a little bit of confusion.
I'm a little, well, I'm not confused. I'm never confused. No, my question is, so it's specifically earmarked monies that would go for a position for the Portales schools?
No, so this money is earmarked for the sheriff's office for an additional position.
Additional position, so, but resource officer, that keeps coming out.
Yeah, so
That's like,
what that's gonna do is that's gonna allow us to open up a school resource position because that'll give us another body so that we can staff
but you,
that position.
but it's gonna be earmarked to have a resource officer then,
So,
not for an extra body.
so the grant funding is just for an additional person. So that's gonna allow us to be able to staff somebody in the school as a.
Okay,
as a
so
deputy.
that's my question, staff somebody in the school. So you mentioned 50% and then 25%. So this isn't reoccurring funds then?
No, this would be 3 years.
Okay, so then if they're putting in 50,000 unlimited every year
No,
through their budget or just one-time deal?
for the schools?
Yes,
Yeah,
from
the
the schools.
schools are gonna fund half of the deputy salary. As long as we have.
Recurring.
Yes, as long as we have somebody in the schools.
Okay, so after the 3 years, then it's gonna have to come out of the county budget.
For that extra position, yes, it is.
Okay. Well, I truly, I mean, I'm gonna support this 100%. It's a sad reality, but we need stuff like this within our school systems, but I'm a city folk. I'm from Portales, but I'm gonna ask this question. What's happening to Floydora and Lida?
Well, we're looking at other grant opportunities where we're gonna try to do whatever we can, unless the commission just wants to give us another position. That way we can put in those schools and fund it 100%.
Okay.
I mean, we're about
Well,
that too.
But Sheriff, you know what? This is very commendable. And I think even if we start with the largest school district within our county, we can look at it as a pilot project as well. So we have 1, 2, 3 years and, if it works out and it pans out, I'm sure these commissioners, I'll be gone by then, may want to.
Pass before you leave.
Yeah. No, I want the resource officer for sure, but we've got to get started somewhere.
Yeah.
And like
yeah,
I said, it'll
that's
be a
kind of-
pilot project, and see if it works out, but I'm gonna say it again, sad reality, we need it within our school systems.
Yeah, and that was kind of our idea, was try to, just to try it out, see if it works out. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, but I mean, we got to try, that way we can try to do that. And then if we can push it out to the rural schools, that's even better. So even if we could have one position for the rural schools in the future that splits the 3 schools.
Well, we've got to start somewhere, and this is it's a good start.
I have something to say, and I'm probably pretty sure I'm going to piss off a lot of people. So I know, Amber, it's okay. So I think it's great. However, why does the city of Portales not provide a resource officer for the schools within the city of Portales? And why are we funding yet another thing for the city of Portales. We have rural schools that do not have officers at all. They don't have an officer for their school zones. They don't have an officer at their school. It's 25 miles, whichever direction you want to go to get to one of those schools. We have nobody there, but yet we're going to fund another thing for right here in the city of Portales when, you know what, there's officers pretty dadgum close to that school where there's not Dora, Floyd, and Lida. And my feelings are, if we're going to fund one, it needs to be to the rural schools because we are the sheriff's department. We are the county. We are not the city of Portales.
Okay, and I can totally see where you're coming from, but you know, this commission has said it time and time again that Portales is Roosevelt County and Roosevelt County is Portales. My family goes to school here. I have friends that go to school here in Portales. You know, the whole community is our family.
I've got
I
rebuttal.
agree with that 100% that you have family and Portales is too. But Portales has a police department. These other entities, these other municipalities that matter is just as much as Portales does. They don't have one. They don't have the funding. They don't have any of that. Portales has the resources to do it. The other ones don't.
Well, you know, the schools came to us because they couldn't get Portales to staff somebody there. So what we're trying to do is help them out. And like Commissioner Lopez said, this could be a pilot project where we can push out in the future and get into the rural schools as well. So, I mean, I'm all about trying to help everybody out here with Roosevelt County and even in the city of Portales as well.
And Commissioner Dixon, your point is way well taken. It's a great point. And I mean, that's a great argument. And I agree with you. But here's the thing, you know, this is our first rodeo. And why not, you know, yes, I understand everything that you said, but we've got the monies and it can start out as a pilot project and we cannot be playing that game anymore of Portales, Roosevelt County, this, that. I agree 100%. And that's why I proposed, if this is a pilot project, then down the road, maybe even next year, we could fund something to have an officer at Floyd, Lida in Dora, because my wife works in Dora. So I'm gonna be a little partial to Dora. I'm gonna be honest with you. I want her to be protected. So I agree with everything you said, but we should take this as a pilot project, see if it's gonna work. The monies are there, and then we'll go from there. It's a beginning.
And I
It's a
agree.
beginning.
And I live in Elida, but my granddaughter goes to school in Floyd. So, and I agree with all of that, but we've sat here in this meeting time and time again, talking about how we're going to work out negotiations with the city of Portales. We're talking about how we're going to work out with the fire department and fire and EMS here in Portales. We don't go ask Dora, Floyd, Elida, any of them if they want us to pay them per run. We don't talk to them about how they want us to pay them, but yet they just take what we give them and they're happy. Then we're sitting here talking, and I know Lime Street is your baby. I understand that. And I'm glad that, and I hope you get it fixed. But my point is, again, we sat here today talking about another thing in Portales. There are other municipalities, there are other people in this community that do not live within the city limits. The city limits of Portales has the ability to get funding, to get things just like everybody else does. And they get more than all of these smaller places do.
Commissioner Dixon, I completely agree with you, but once again, I'm gonna tell you that I'm the city county commissioner. And the fact of the matter is I've never had a road fund. I've never had a budget. I've never had anything. So when I ask, you guys have supported me wholeheartedly. Every time I've been commissioned, you guys have supported me wholeheartedly. I don't have road funds or budget. I don't have any of that. So when I want to do an in-kind thing, it's not just for the city of Portales. We're Roosevelt County. We're the city of Portales. We're one. And we got to protect each other. I don't care what anybody says. This divisiveness and this and that. And yes, we've got to protect our county and our rural area. We have to. We have that obligation. But by God, I mean, you know, when I request something, it's not because I'm being selfish or desperate or whatever. It's because the need is there.
Right,
And it's justifiable, you know? So
Thank you.
I haven't had a chance to talk, Chair.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I like what we're doing and what you're thinking about doing it, the idea. Being from rural, my wife being principal down in Elida, she has to work the crosswalk to Allsup's during lunch hour, crosswalk after school out there on Highway 70. There's speed limits. They claim 45. Ain't nobody there to police it. She stands out in the middle of that highway policing that crosswalk, trying to let them kids cross. Lots of times they don't stop. And I know the security of the schools. Portales is a bigger school system. They need more security than a little school. I can go say they need more security. They need just as much. All the schools need just as much security. But I'm having a problem with the city of Portales not helping the police city of Portales. Chris Williams, them not helping out with this location there, even though they sit at the crosswalks of all these schools. They have several of these schools. Are y'all just going to be located at the high school, or y'all going to be going to the elementaries, several of the other elementaries and junior high? Or
So what the school has asked for is that we have somebody primarily at the high school and the junior high, because that's their biggest issues. But they rotate through all the other schools as well.
I thought they already had a city policeman that shows up at the junior high
They haven't had a school
and high
resource-
school.
Yeah, the schools have not had a school resource officer since prior to COVID.
Since before COVID, but they did up to COVID.
Correct.
That's what I was
Right,
thinking.
right around that time. And then they just weren't able to have the staffing to staff those. And I can't speak on behalf of the Taos Police Department or the city government. That's not what I'm here to do.
Right.
I'm just here to, try to facilitate getting a school resource deputy within the Taos schools, because they've asked if we can help them out. We'll definitely hit up Elida schools during the lunch hour. There's that issue. We'll have the on-duty guys go by. They do rotate in and out the schools for the school zones in the mornings. We hit them up the best we can, depending on our call volume. So, we're trying to help out everybody and try to facilitate this for the schools. And I really think it'd be a good thing for Roosevelt County.
Well, I wish that Portales schools and the Roosevelt County and City of Portales, I wish we could all share the wealth around to all the schools for this program instead of just one officer at one location at all times. But I understand other schools ain't trying to pitch in either. And so,
Yeah, and our plan is
and
to-
so that's the big deal. That's the deal. I do understand that.
And our plan is to go meet with the rural schools and see if there's any kind of fundings that they have to maybe help out, or we could rotate a deputy out there as well. So this
I
is
know
just-
there's been some funding from the littler municipalities to hire for an extra body to be hired on for a little littler municipality in the county, and the county's turned it down. And so we need to look at all avenues, and not just, the city of Portales, the city policemen, they can get there within seconds. Something happens out here in these other rural schools, they can't. And that's just common sense. They cannot. And so anyway.
And I know the town of Elida has tried to get help out there. I mean, they've tried through LEPF funding. They've tried everything to try to get help and to help the sheriff's department and the county to get somebody to have a body out there. And they've gotten nowhere.
That's very true. Even state police, because of the fact that this is a good thing, that there's very low crime within our area, even state police ain't gonna patrol anywhere in and around Dory, Elida, or Floyd. I mean, they're not. But this is my suggestion, and Amber, I would like to make this request to you. We should contact Diane Ventura's office with the Senator Heinrich, and see if there's any special allocations that we can get through them to fund our rural schools for a resource officer. it'd be nice just to be in the know, see if it's even a possibility. And then I'll get with Stuart Engel and see what maybe kind of see his point of view and what we could do on state level.
And just to respond to Commissioner Dixon, you know, the LEPF funding, that's for equipment, it's not for salaries, so it wouldn't create another salary line item where we could fund a person. It would be for equipment.
I understand how that all works. But I also know that they tried several times. And I mean, I know that the school has tried because I've talked to them at the school. They've tried to get somebody down there. I'm telling you, these rural communities and Dora, Floyd, it's going to take a long time for somebody to get there if something breaks out. It's not going to take as long for somebody to get to Portales. Yes, I think we need to protect the school in Portales as well, but it's not going to take someone as long to get there. Look at how many officers, whether it's the police department or the sheriff's department, that's right here on hand. They're not out there on any of those schools.
Mr. Chairman,
I agree. And like Commissioner Criswell said, but the crosswalks and everything, I mean, Rachel does bus duty and everything else, you know, and I don't know, it's just, this is a toughie, but we've got to get started somewhere. We've got the monies and we've got to proceed.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I think we all kind of understand the issue there and how important our rural schools are and how much danger they're in. And we all understand that they're a long ways off and it would take a long time for anyone to get there should we have an active shooter there. But if we have a resource officer present at the high school or junior high or such a close proximity, having them there is a deterrent. Because when we have an active shooter situation, once that happens, it's really too late for anybody to do much about it. We can come in and rectify the situation, but a lot of damage is already done when that active shooter begins. So if we have that resource officer present there at that school, it's a deterrent to keep the active shooter situation from developing. And so I know that Mr. Kane has talked to Sheriff Sanchez. Mr. Kane has talked to people with the city government. The city government said they just didn't have the money to do it. I'd like to thank Mr. Sanchez for go ahead and at the time he was asked, he didn't, but he'd had the initiative to go ahead and try to appropriate those funds. But again, as Commissioner Lopez said, it's a beginning. It's not something that can solve our situation. And yes, it is unfortunate the city is not doing more for our city schools. That's unfortunate, but it doesn't improve the safety of the kids. But this deputy on site will be a definite deterrent and will be a benefit improving the health of our kids. Because once it happens, once that active shooter situation happens, I don't care where the police are, it takes a while to mitigate that situation. But I want to have this resource officer there as a deterrent to have them on site. So I'm definitely in favor of this. And I think Sanchez, Sheriff Sanchez and Mr. Kane, I think they did a lot of forward thinking and have done a good job so far. This is a beginning. It's not the answer, but it is a good start. So I'm in favor of passing this.
With all due respect, and I don't mean any disrespect whatsoever, but aren't you on the school board for the city of Portales, Commissioner Savage?
Yes, I am.
I would think that would be a complete conflict of interest.
I'll restate that. I was.
Well, I still think that would be a complete conflict of interest.
Nevertheless, I make a motion to approve 7D.
I'll second that, Mr. Chairman.
Motion has been made to approve 7D. Dennis, how do you vote?
Yes.
Yes.
No,
No. We have 3 yes votes, 2 no votes. Motion passes. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
And I don't have to be in a rush.